Yeah, Radha, please continue.
Right. So from Vijay's point of view, first I'll be very clear about why I want to do it and how important it is and what is the investment that I can make. So I'll be very clear about that and possibly to some extent what what is it that he wants, right? And if from the other end, okay, that is if I am the uh, person who is going to be taking up the contract, again I think what will decide is, and also Vijay can have the criteria that he is looking for, a set of criteria that he will look at, and certain factors that he will consider. It could be something like professionalism, something like the pricing, something like previous work done by this particular contractor. There can be multiple criteria or factors he can have a checklist and to do the comparison. And from the from the contractor's point of view or the painter's point of view, if I were the painter and I was being recruited or I'm going to find a job, I think if I have a lot of work, I might not be as flexible, or I might not offer a customized service in comparison to someone who's in need of work or whose natural approach is to know what the client needs and deliver that. So I think Vijay was more comfortable with the third person, or he extended his patience with the third person. uh, it could be because of the fact that he was comparing. This was the third person and not the first person. With the first person there is no comparison, but once we have more options, that's where comparison begins, and sometimes that's when we also start thinking about what is it that we exactly need. So maybe that is why he was more open to listening to the third person. Another possibility is that the third person also realized that this person is a little difficult to convince and I need the work. And that is why, he could have given more ideas or given it more time. So also how the dynamics change when we are dealing with option one, option two, option three, or I think it works both ways. So it's between two people who come with their own set of criteria, because this is a very transactional, this is a need based affair and it is transactional. I also feel that this cannot be generalized. uh, yeah, so that's those are my thoughts.
Yes, yes. So, what about that scenario where, after all the precautions and the skill set analysis, the mathematical approach Radha mentioned very stipulated way. So, after all the precautions and after the employing, if the work is not up to the mark, what was expected from him, then then comes the question of botheration, whether Vijay will have a botheration or not. Can we question that? And that will define the choice versus selection criteria. Selection is very physical criteria, where physical based analysis and all those stuff will happen without any emotional connect. You understand? Emotional connect. Yes, Vijay.
Sir, can you define what is choice?
Yes. Choice is any selection which bothers you, which bothers you. Like anything that you are.
Moderation could be both ways. Like it can be, um, as you said, that as expected.
Yeah, yeah. Botheration means there is some turbulence in the physiology, in the chemical.
Yeah.
Like after selecting it, suppose in your case, Vijay, the third individual you have chosen, and he has done a splendid job, and you have see my selection. That is a botheration. And also, if he has not done the work up to the mark, and you felt bad about it internally, you identify the fact that yes, it is not choice is not as a noun concept. Radha, can you explain that? Couldn't get that.
Yeah, so I mean, what I understand is when you're talking about choice, you're talking about making a choice, choice as in an action. Whereas choice
Yeah.
by itself
No,
could be, yeah, choice
yeah, we
as
are
a
talking about
concept is a,
physiological
sen-
sensation. We are
yeah,
talking about physiological sensation.
right.
Yeah. So, Vijay, could you understand the choice difference between the choice and selection?
Not yet, sir. Sorry.
Not yet.
The word choice here, as Kalyan is trying to put, is inclusive of the expectation or the outcome. An association with an
Sensation.
outcome is what Kalyan is suggesting as choice here. And selection is where it is purely based on its physical attributes. For example, I look at the utility of it and I say this makes a lot of this camera or this mic helps me enhance my quality of voice because I can be heard well, like the example that he gave. And the choice would be where I start associating expectations where that, okay, because of this, the video quality will be excellent. I will get so many likes and I will sound like a superstar. I mean, I'm just giving some crazy ideas, but what I mean to say is that here the word choice comes inbuilt with expectations, and that is what Radha is saying. Choice as a verb is not a problem, but when choice becomes an adjective, which means it has certain quality of expectation in it, then it's a problem, then it's a challenge. Because so I am in best position to understand whether my choice is a pure choice of an action, or does that choice, behind the choice there are those expectations which are coming along with it, leading to the physiological or led by the physiological sensations.
Yes. So choice is basically depicting the sensation, the feel good, feel bad factor. So Vijay, suppose you know that the painting is a luxury for me right now. It's not a survival need as such, but I am choosing to paint it for luxury purpose. I'm going ahead with it, but without any sensation. Sensation means if you don't do it, you don't feel bad. And if you do it, then also you don't feel good, some extra. If that is the case, then it is a selection of yours. Yes.
Selection. Okay, correct. I understood this.
So physiological sensation is associated with choice, and physical action attribution are associated with selection. Dr. Dubey, you are a mute spectator today. Vikrant, hi. How are you doing?
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Today I'm mute spectator.
Yeah, Vikrant, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Just a minute.
Great. You are in Pune or at your
Hometown.
hometown? Welcome. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Very nice. Good to see you. Right. So we had a discussion about selection and choice. Thanks, Vijay, for bringing that experience.
So you were saying that when we need to, like suppose paint the house, you were saying what is the criteria on which you will select who is going to do it?
Yeah.
That was what you were discussing, right?
Yeah, so there could be many strategy, for that. The skill set selection can have multiple strategy depending upon the work that we need or the skill that we need. We can give a piece of work, not the whole work, to try out, like start with this, and we'll go ahead, take a call after seeing your performance in this particular work. That could be one way, and other could be the reviews, taking the feedbacks of the people. And in this online era, if they have an online presence, then there will be some feedbacks which could be purchased feedback. But otherwise, if it is a pool of feedback, then there could be chances of genuine feedbacks also. If you read through, then you'll have a sense of it, that whether it is a mock feedback or actual feedback. So all those criteria also can be evaluated.
So are we saying that, like, I'm just, are we saying that when we need to do some work, like get done any work from somebody else, firstly, if we are clear that we are not making a choice but a selection, then whatever way you do it, it's
That's
fine.
a primary internal revolution.
Yeah.
That's the primary
So
phase.
once that is sorted,
Yeah.
you can just go ahead with whatever you yourself, your own skill set, whatever it is, the way you evaluate and all that.
Yeah,
Also,
if the first
is different.
criteria is sorted, as you say,
Yeah.
if the first criteria is sorted, then you will do a really good job in selection.
Yeah.
You know, because you are with abundant of energy in that choicelessness state. So whenever you have enough energy, definitely the action is going to be optimum. So that way you'll do a good job in selection in most of the cases. But that's again not a guarantee. Not a guarantee.
And the quality of the job anyway, at the end of it, is not going to affect you.
Yeah, in any way.
It's the processing of whatever you did that is
But
actually.
Rajeshwari put a deeper question, where you have invested savings of your life. Yeah, Rajeshwari, can we inquire that together? The point that you raised, and if feasible, then switch on your camera, please.
Oh, sorry, I never realized it wasn't on. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but before that point, Kalyan, I just had one more. One aspect in this conversation that we were talking about, which you just said, that you will make the choices will go right. I mean, you made that statement that because you have so much of conserved vitality.
Yeah, optimal, right or wrong, that depends upon various criteria.
Right.
You will be full with energy in your action.
I feel that the vitality will be maybe in selection, yes. And therefore, whether the selection would be an apt one or not, I don't know whether that there you will reflect vitality, but definitely whether the selection turns out to be apt or doesn't turn out to be apt, what is my attitude towards that, there definitely I will sense vitality. हो सकता है मैंने जो सिलेक्शन किया और उसका जो आउटपुट निकला वो सही नहीं रहा, because this is at least what I have sensed in my experiences when I used to look for this maids or house help. It may not have been right always, right in the sense it may not have gone right in the right direction always to fit the need of the hour. But when it did not fit the need of the hour, I was not left with a bitter taste about the maid or about the situation or about depleted with energy to look beyond for solutions. it gave me perhaps an opportunity to even question the need for the maid. जो हम कई बार जो जरूरत को लेकर चलते हैं, वो जरूरत भी जरूरी है क्या, ये क्वेश्चन करने की जो जरूरत है वो
No, here actually I'd like to reflect a bit. Like, is it appearing because you are not finding the right maid or otherwise? That's also one of the biggest questions that we have to ask. If it is happening with a condition, then it's not inquisition. It's a situational pressure that you succumb to accept. Yeah, Radha, you want to continue?
situation. Okay, but okay, I
Yeah, Radha.
Okay, so I'm just going to try and connect this to where I am right now, or I have been for the last almost 3-4 weeks. So now I am with an employer, and I have reached a stage where I cannot work as per the conditions in which we are expected to work. So there was a point until when I was frantically looking for similar jobs, driven by the norm of having at least or an X% increment or a certain increase in designation. Those were the criteria which was driving me to look for jobs. And in that process, I realized a lot of things which the recruiters were looking at, and I did not fit in. So it gave me a lot of insight into how recruiters view um, prospective candidates, and how I will again have to fit into something which ideologically I don't believe in. I think as humans we are more fluid than what we are expected to be to fit in, to perform certain roles. It was a very interesting revelation for me. And meanwhile, within me, I started questioning, is it necessary? I remember I had discussed this when we were at the farm also. And that time, Kalyan, you had said that how much money you want to survive by itself is an inquiry. So I remember that statement that you had made. So, and in this process, a lot of energy depletion was happening. Like I was working, working without money in one place. I was working to cover up the gap in another place. Plus, I was looking for jobs, and all of this is only in the work front, plus the personal front, which was completely being neglected. So then what I did was I'm glad this whole thing happened, because then I started questioning the way recruiters try to find people. And if I want to fit in, that is a question that I have to answer for myself. After that, what I did was I just stopped everything, and it was absolute energy depletion mode. And then I just shut everything down for the last this is the 5th day when I have not done anything. And the moment I shut my all of these my thinking faculty and the movement and lot of other things, I could conserve my energy. And I think the answers just revealed, or there were still options right in front of me which I had not exercised. There were jobs where I could fit in, but what was more important was for me to realize what is it that I want. And the moment I went into this energy conservation mode, um, without doing anything, I was able to figure out what could be a better option for me. So this switching off and even disconnecting from, because there are influences. People are maybe our friends, my family members, the major people who will get impacted by this one decision. Uh, I was consulting all of them to understand what is their perspective and to understand what is their expectation from me and how will my decision impact uh, the the uh, impact what I contribute to them. So when I stopped all of this after a point, conserved energy, did absolutely nothing at the cost of feeling that I'm being totally unproductive, which is again conditioning, because I think we are conditioned to be productive. And if we don't do anything, we think that we are not productive. But that not doing anything is equally important to figure out what is the next best step. So
And then comes the definition of productivity also. Like, what do we call as productivity? That
correct,
also can be questioned.
correct. Another insight was also how at the systemic level, a lot of these things are decided by people who, I mean, I don't know if I can say the patriarchal systems. I don't know if I can say that. But when women come to into that uh, space and have to fit into that system, it is not as conducive for women to scale up or to do all of that. This is my personal opinion. For a man to do the job that I am doing right now will be far easier, because I also, when I seek advice on how to, make money or how to sustain, how to grow your money, a lot of that advice comes from men who are taken care of in other areas. For me as a woman, I don't have that privilege. So I tend to look at the workplaces also to be built in a similar manner. So I had to come back to myself and find out what works best for me. So it was a very interesting, uh, and I think today I kind of reached a point where I said, okay, maybe this will work out. Uh, the other outcome of this not doing anything and just withdrawing and energy conservation was also I started thinking beyond. I was inside a bubble and thinking only about what's inside the bubble, and now I was so scared to break the bubble. But the moment I conserved energy, I realized that that bubble is an illusion. There is a huge area of possibility beyond that bubble, and maybe breaking that bubble is going to just make me aware of the scope of possibility outside the bubble. So I have to break it instead of being in the illusion that the bubble is what is protecting me and that is what is going to. So these are my observations and findings, and I'm open. I'm still very open to whatever is going to come out of this. But the energy conservation was extremely important.
Yes, yes. Thanks for sharing. And there could be a bubble called patriarchy. Hope you will identify that. Any reflection from the ladies over here of the comments on the patriarchal? Yeah, Dr. Dubey, you unmuted. Yes, sir.
Sir, the same thing was here when I was sick and was out of work for 6 months. There was an idea and the fear of future things. I was working at 3 different places. So what will happen? How I will survive and run my family if I am not working, if I am not productive? That fear was actually was a lot of burden on my vitality. I was incapacitated, not able to work. So quit my one job. Started when I recovered a little bit. Then another fear. I'm joining my clinic after 6 months. Patient will rush to me or not. That fear was all the time in the mind. And then I started how much money I need to survive and run after my family. How much, the bare minimum which I need to run my family. And that things, the idea came, what investment right now I have that can run if I am not productive. So things, just observing all these things, in a few months that all things resolved. Nowadays, these things are not bothering me at all. Just I am trying to conserve more and more vitality in my recovery journey, and that is helping me a lot.
So, irrespective of gender, the experience was quite similar. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So, Rajeshwari, Binal, about this patriarchy. Vijay wants an explanation of patriarchy also. Male gender driven society is called patriarchy.
So, sir, can I have one thing? So,
yes.
is it necessary to label yourself as male and female? You know, can't we go beyond gender? I know I have a male body, but then on P3 level, I don't know what I am. You know,
Why?
on P3 level, I don't know what I am.
Your P3 comes from P1, and at P1 you are a male. Your P3 doesn't come out of blue. Out of the blue, it doesn't come. P3 is generated out of P1, P2, P. Graduation, action, sensation, perception. Perception is the P3. So that is the reflection of your P1, and at your P1 level, you are a male. So why to deny that? Why to deny that? But as far as the rights are concerned, all these ideated aspects, there is no difference. There is no difference. But definitely at the body level. So if we male gender starts considering that we are not privileged because we cannot bear a child, that's a complete idiotic ideation, isn't it? This difference is very obvious. This difference is very obvious, and it's fine. But what we are talking here, the patriarchal society and all, which could be considered as a fact, but fact at the physical level, when a lot of restrictions and impositions are there on female gender, but at the P3 level, at the understanding level, all these ideas, how it is impacting, that's the question. That's why I asked the female members here, what is their response to this kind of gender bias situations? Nandini, are you in some other time zone or? Hello, Nandini, how are you doing? I think network is not pretty good. Nandini, are you well? Am I audible, guys? What about others? Okay.
Yes.
Nandini is not able to hear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Binal, Rajeshwari, any reflection?
I think if one is in a so-called patriarchal society or in a family, for example, where there is a lot of male domination, then also, I mean, one may have to perhaps do a lot of household chores or those things. So at the physical level, it's still doable, and one would still be free at the mental level. However, if it would mean that physically someone is abused, then definitely one can take a call to disengage from that particular relationship in that sense. So, yeah.
Rajeshwari, any reflection? Have you ever sensed deprived being female?
In my experience, Kalyan, I mean, I started off my career with a business which was very male dominated, which is in, you know, two-wheelers, which is like even the product is very back then in 2003. I'm talking about 2001. Sorry, very male dominated. Whether it's the people you deal with, the product, my team, all my team members were males, and I was supposed to be running that team. But what I realized was how I felt about myself made a huge impact in how my interactions with my team members and people in that industry were. You know, the initial typical worldly conditioning would look, अरे ये तो lady है, ये मतलब ये business में ये lady है, तो कैसे क्या होगा? But I think I always had that perhaps that questioning or that curiosity with whatever it is. If you'll put me with a cat, I'll become curious about a cat. If you'll put me with a motorcycle, I'll get, you know. So I would, and I used to ride bikes. So because I would want to experience ye kya hota. I used to ride a scooter. So just that curiosity I felt, and then that eventually helped me connect, because I was asking questions, learning about it from people or boys who were perhaps much adept in knowledge with that subject and topic, with people in the industry who were much adept. And somewhere that changed that mindset, that approach. And in over a period of, I think, about 3 to 6 months, the outlook was very different in terms of it is not about the female, it is how she contributes to our business, how she looks upon it as being a partner with us in our, and understands our business and works together with us. So that mindset kind of completely changed. And while I had male counterparts handling other regions, it didn't anymore seem, it was never a mindset issue in my case, but whatever was a mindset issue in some others' cases also dissolved over a period of time. So I at least that helped me understand that the first thing is, how do I feel about what I am doing? Am I already constricted, restrained within me, biased within me about the surrounding? Then I also tend to carry that in my expressions, in my responses, in my behavior, in my and in turn it's like a loop. I receive more of it, and I think, yeah, this is why it is like that. And then more is, it seems to, it starts looking as if that is the reality, but that is not. That is only a very small part that I am seeing it as patriarchal. And it's not the whole. You realize that you're just seeing what you want to see, and therefore it becomes more and more of that same thing that you see again and again. I'm not sure whether I'm coming through on my last point. It's like I start unconsciously, I don't know whether the word unconscious is right, but somewhere deep inside, I'm in that loop where I'm only seeing more of that, and I'm not open to seeing the other aspects also alongside. And more I'm into that loop seems to, yeah, the more that the loop starts deepening in me about it.
Yeah, deconditioning. Radha is asking whether the deconditioning is the solution or not. So I guess so. Like as Vinal mentioned and Rajeshwari also mentioned the similar tune. At the physical level, whatsoever is the differentiation. Suppose if you take it easily at the physical level only, not getting affected at the mental level with the curiosity, then let the other individual or a group, however they are behaving with you, with the differentiation, that doesn't matter at the mind level for you. So as we many times discussed that even if you are imprisoned, then also you can be free. So imprisonment is a physical imprisonment where your survival is not at stake, because all the survival needs are provided in the prison also, but the mind is your complete captivation. How you operate at the mind level, at the psychological level. So even the imprisonment also cannot imprison you at the mind level. So this patriarchy could be a fact being imposed by a group of people, by individuals and all, but how we take it at the mind level, that depends upon us only, because P2 and P3 are very personal. Nobody can perceive your perception, nobody can sense your sensation. So whatsoever is visible is the P1. So that's a liberty that we have. I think we can work, Radha, on the bubble called patriarchy. Yes, we have around 2 minutes.
So is it that I have to alter things at the physiological level in order to
With the question.
disconnect? Yeah, that's what I'm asking. If the alterations have to be made at the physiological level so that the connections
Actually,
or the associations.
directly physiological level, we cannot work ever. What we have to work is questioning the perception so that it doesn't have an impact at the sensation. I cannot alter the sensation directly. I have to work on the perception with curiosity so that the perception gets a dynamism and it doesn't come back to the sensation.
I remember a very beautiful statement which Kalyana shared at the
A few seconds are left.
sorry,
Yeah, please go on. I am listening.
I couldn't hear. Did somebody say anything?
Yeah, a few seconds are left, I say.
Oh, okay. So that can I know that I'm absolutely the smallest speck and yet not feel inferior?
Yes.
You know,
So with that note, we can.
It still remains as always in my heart every moment, that I can be the brightest or the smallest, whatever people may perceive, but I don't feel inferior or superior. I'm just completely that